Welcome aboard. It's my first video on this channel, The Weather Mike. I don't know, do you like the name? I just had to do something, so it was available. So there we go. So video number one. I've done a couple of videos on my other channel, and the weather videos that I was doing started to catch on. So I'm like, well, I need to create a new channel that's dedicated just to weather and see if it catches on. And I just love weather anyway. So let's get into it, because we have two very interesting storms that will be moving through the United States that will be bringing a lot of snow if the models are correct. And of course, they're not in agreement on these two storms either. So who's going to get snow? We don't know exactly yet. So in fact, that's what I want to jump off into first. We're going to start with the three different computer models, the main ones, and what they're saying for snow cover at the end of both storms. So we're going to go all the way to January 11th, which is 10 days away. So a lot of uncertainty for sure. And yeah, you could call this a little bit of guesswork, but also trends that are developing. So I do think there will be a lot of snow in the United States, but which one of these will get it right, or will it be somewhere in between? We'll find out on the 12th. So this right here is the Canadian model, and two storms moving through. The first one, which would be moving, I'm trying to put my pointer. I don't have a pointer for this slide. So the first one would be moving through south of Kentucky and Tennessee. Would be moving through south of Tennessee, or in, the low developing around Tennessee, moving in there. And so we'd have some pretty heavy rains south of that, and then some snow perhaps in Tennessee, Kentucky, and then moving up to the East Coast with a deepening low and some very heavy snow and some strong winds as we get into especially New Jersey and New York and Connecticut and Massachusetts with the wind, but even heavy snow in West Virginia, Maryland, and also Pennsylvania with that first storm, which is actually the second storm. There's a storm before that that's bringing heavy rain along the Gulf Coast. But anyway, the third storm then, which is coming around 8th, 9th, would be bringing the snow in the panhandle of Texas into Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa, also Minnesota, Wisconsin, and northern Illinois. And a couple of these models have Illinois getting hit really hard along with Missouri, but Missouri just getting a glancing blow on this. The bullseye on this storm, according to this model, would be very northern Kansas, Nebraska, southeastern Nebraska, and across southern Iowa, central Iowa, and into eastern Iowa. And I live in southwestern Iowa, almost central western Iowa. So this one I like because I'm a snow lover. So this is great. That's the Canadian. Now the Euro, watch the differences here. The Euro has, first of all, our East Coast storm. We have less snow for western Tennessee, less snow for some portions of Kentucky, but still some good snows for eastern Tennessee, eastern Kentucky, heavy snow West Virginia and Virginia, and then less snow as you get into northern New Jersey, into New York City, New York State still getting some good snow. And then the next storm, the 8th, 9th, 10th storm, bringing snow to West Texas. There you go, Lubbock. Some snow for you maybe, if this one comes true. And the bullseye is Kansas, and then a swath across Missouri and Illinois right into Chicago. And if you look down at the very bottom, we're talking a foot plus of snow in these heavier snow areas. And so that is the Euro. So again, the Canadian, also look at the difference along the Oregon coast. So the Canadian has no snow for the Oregon coast range, but when you go to the Euro, there's a lot of snow for the Oregon coast range. Lower elevation snows on the Euro for Oregon and Washington as well. So I forgot to point that out. GFS. So if the GFS comes true, and will any of these come true? We don't know yet. It's 10 days out. So sorry. All right, when we look at the East Coast on the GFS, look out most of Ohio. Very deep snow in Ohio if this comes true. Also Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia. We're looking at a couple feet in some areas here. Again, 10 days out. So big grains of salt, okay? But we're just looking for trends and differences in the models. Kansas gets hit pretty good on this model. So does Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle north of I-40. And Missouri gets a pretty good dump too, 8 to 12 inches. And then again, across Illinois, up to Chicago. Also, this one has a nice path right through southern Indiana too. So those are the differences in the model. If you live in Tennessee, you like this one the best if you don't like snow. So now these are from the model run that was 6 hours ago or so. The model run from the GFS for 18Z just finished. And so I want to pull that up and see what we can see on the 18Z. There it is, GFS 18Z is when this model run was run. And we're starting Tuesday, the 2nd of January at 0Z, which is actually 6 o'clock tonight, Central Time, which is actually 45 minutes from now as I'm recording. All right. Nothing going on. Nothing. Oh, West Virginia, a little bit of light snow and a little bit of light rain along the Carolina, North Carolina, and South Carolina coast. And as we move through time, we're going to see our first storm popping up here, and it's going to be forming in Texas. We got some pretty good rains. This is more southeast of Dallas, down the I-35 corridor all the way down to San Antonio, getting wet. Also, Houston, and starting to move into Louisiana. This is 6 o'clock p.m. tomorrow, tomorrow, the 2nd. Also, we have a storm moving on the California coast. So San Francisco getting wet. The Siskiyou's getting snow, and also into the Sierra Nevada. That'll be happening here on the next couple frames. This is midnight on the 3rd. And Louisiana, now we're starting to see some heavy rain here, and our low forming just off the Gulf Coast. And then our approaching system in California, bringing some nice heavy snows for the Sierra Nevada. And then those snows will start to move into Nevada, and they'll be on the light side, also eastern Oregon. A little bit of light snow up here in the Great Lakes. And again, Louisiana getting a soaking as we move into the 3rd. This is 9 a.m. Biloxi, Mississippi now getting in the act. Also parts of Alabama, the Florida Panhandle. Light snow continuing in the Intermountain West. And a little bit of rain now moving further south in California and along the central and northern coast, southern Oregon coast. The Olympic Mountains of Washington getting a little bit of snow here. All right. If I name every state, we'll never get through this. We've got some heavy showers coming in the Florida Panhandle. Also some rain in Georgia. A little bit of snow in northern Georgia. Interesting. We're on the 3rd here at 15 minus 12 is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we're getting to midnight here on the 4th. And we're getting into the morning of the 4th now. This is 6 a.m. Central Time. Sorry for going Central Time. I live in Iowa. I live right here. This is my first video on the channel. Probably the only one seeing this are family and friends and fans from my other channels. So anyway, but you never know. YouTube might get it out there and some other people might discover it. So nice to meet you. Like and subscribe, right? All right, so our low is starting to form. Our next low is starting to form here in New Mexico. And we're getting some snow in the Four Corners region. A little bit of rain down here in Tucson. All right, that low disappeared, but here it is. And we're starting to see some snows now spread into Colorado and also into Kansas. Rain a little further south of that. A little bit of McCook, Nebraska, getting a little bit of light snow here. So this storm now spreading heavier snow into Kansas, light snow in Nebraska, and rain south of that. A little bit of Oklahoma getting a little bit of the snow. Another system moving onshore in the Pacific Northwest. Heavy rain along the Oregon coast, Northern California coast. Snow in the Cascades. I didn't look up the snow level, so I don't know. You'll have to, if you live in Oregon, you know how to check that stuff. Snow in eastern Oregon as well, in Northern California. K Falls getting some snow here, it looks like. And then more heavy rain moving into Louisiana. Congratulations, Louisiana. And then snow falling apart. We're on the 6th now of January. More heavy rain now for Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, as that system continues to move on. This one is interesting. Let me back up just a little bit. So some of the runs were showing this low a little bit stronger and a little bit further south, a little bit more snow for Tennessee. The GFS is showing rain for Tennessee and heavy rain for South Carolina and North Carolina, and now some heavy rain for Tennessee. But that's snow in Kentucky, southern Ohio, southern Indiana, and in parts of West Virginia and Virginia also breaking out in snow. And this storm is strengthening. And so we are starting to see some snow get down into central Tennessee. Perhaps Nashville will get some of this snow. Certainly heavy snow now in parts of Kentucky and again Virginia and West Virginia and Ohio and parts of Indiana as this storm continues to strengthen. This is heavy rain along the coast of North Carolina and further to the east parts of Virginia. Northern Virginia just getting socked with heavy snow. These lines of these isobars are getting close together, so there's a lot of wind here too, onshore wind. And so blowing snow here and probably a little bit of elevated, definitely some big waves and some heavy rain and some wind to go with that. And we'll watch it as it sort of moves. It's hugging the coast. So we're getting snow inland and rain along the coast as this continues to move northward and then finally out to sea. But let me back up a frame. You see how cranked up it is. So parts of like New Jersey here, looks like Long Island's right there, New York City here. So this is very heavy snow for New Jersey and some wind. Pennsylvania, some moderate snow, lighter winds, but still some wind. Long Island getting hit pretty hard with right on the rain-snow line on this. And then more snow as you get into Connecticut, Massachusetts, and more wind. The wind stronger south of Massachusetts, and but right along the coast, parts of New Jersey, also. So I don't know if it'll be a blizzard, but it's going to be some blowing snow here. Meanwhile, the next storm is sort of getting its act together over here in the Four Corners. So we're starting to see snow bust out. We're on the 7th of January now at 18Z, so this is noon Central Time. As the snow is winding down on the east, our next storm is getting its act together. We have Arizona, again, seeing some snow, Mogollon Rim, mountains near Phoenix, and we're seeing some lighter snow in Utah, Colorado, and northern New Mexico, as long as it's Wyoming too. North Dakota and Minnesota also seeing some light snow. Now we'll move this forward. And this low is starting to deepen over New Mexico. That's where the other one's formed. And light snow now up in Nebraska, northern Colorado, parts of Utah. And heavier snows, that's not far from Tucson right there. So Mount Lemon's probably going to get a nice dump from this. Again, we are, a week out now. And so you start getting more than a week out. And the models are, they're cranking out their good prediction of what's going to happen. But the further out we get, the less predictable they are. And plus, we need to have from run to run consistency. And it would be nice to have consistency between the models as well. And we're not quite there yet. So do take all this with a grain of salt. But this is at least one possibility. And we are most likely going to see 2 snowstorms. And on this map, it's the one that's exiting and then the one that's forming. And then according to the GFS, we're going to start to see some light snow where I live. Yay! Over here in western Iowa, not too far from Omaha, about an hour from Omaha. And near Omaha, we're starting to see snow further north up to Sioux City as well. Colorado getting some snow. But look at this. This is El Paso's right here. So a little bit of snow not far from El Paso. Again, if this is the model of choice and if this is how it pans out. And as this low starts to really get its act together, we're seeing these lines of equal pressure, these isobars getting closer together. We're going to see heavy snow developing and some wind. So there's going to be snow and blowing snow in this scenario if it comes true for western Kansas, eastern Colorado. Oh boy. Let's see where this goes. We're at the 8th of January at 18Z, so subtract 6, that's noon on the 8th Central Time, and that's where the storm is in Central Time. More heavy snow and wind continuing in Kansas and moving into southern Nebraska, and some rain ahead of that for eastern Kansas and Oklahoma with some thunderstorms, and even some rain coming down in Missouri and southern Iowa. And as the storm gets wound up and gets closer, we're seeing more of Iowa now turning to heavy snow. That's pretty windy too, so some blowing snow in the Omaha area. Not quite Des Moines yet. It looks like Des Moines hasn't changed over to snow. Again, if this scenario comes exactly true, heavy snow and wind in Kansas, and even on the backside, some snow falling down the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma and parts of western Oklahoma, and then rain out ahead of it, especially for Arkansas. And this storm just strengthens and deepens and is pulling up all this moisture. And so there's a lot of moisture to work with. We're talking hours of heavy snow and blowing snow. We're on the 9th now. Not quite this is 8th at 9 p.m. I think that's right. And then this will be midnight on the 8th. A little bit lighter on the snow now where I live near Omaha and the western half of Iowa and northern parts of Iowa. Snow spreading into Wisconsin, UP of Michigan. And the heavy stuff back in Kansas still. And very windy still. And then, as we move through time and this low continues to lift, we get a band of very heavy snows now in southwestern Iowa through just the tip of northern Missouri. Still a little bit of Nebraska and Kansas still getting in what probably will be blizzard conditions if this comes true. Iowa getting snow. Now parts of Missouri getting snow. The heavy rains moving on the southern part of this storm. So moving out of Alabama, moving into Georgia, Tennessee seeing heavy rain, moving into North Carolina, South Carolina. We've got some ice in Virginia. Great. Why not? Ohio getting soaked, and Michigan starting to see snow as this low continues to crank up. Look how windy that is. Even though the snow is light by now, it's just blowing around. And up in Wisconsin, the snow is getting a little heavier, and the low lifts on up into Canada. We're now at the evening of January 9th as this windy, snowy system with a lot of rain and wind moving into New England. All that snow you got is now getting heavy rained on, so that could probably be a flooding concern, again, if this is how it pans out. Next system moving into the Pacific Northwest. So, again, this is better than guesswork moving ahead, but if that low goes a little further south, Kansas gets more snow, Missouri gets more snow, Chicago gets more snow, and Iowa and Nebraska get less snow. I haven't seen any of the models taking it further north, but if it did, we'd have more rain further north and more snow further north. So, maybe getting into Minnesota, but I haven't seen any of the models doing that. The models, the other models have a solution of this low being further south. So Kansas, Oklahoma getting heavy snow along with Missouri. But this is the latest run of the GFS. The run before this one had the low further south. The run before that had the low pretty much where it is now. So the GFS has snapped back to this solution. So we're going to keep an eye on all that, but keep in mind the Canadian is showing the bullseye pretty much where this run of the GFS is. The Euro is showing the bullseye in Kansas and Oklahoma and Lubbock, Texas getting some snow. And then the GFS is showing a lot more snow for Ohio and Pennsylvania and West Virginia and Virginia. And also for Missouri, for this second snowstorm, the bullseye's Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. So where will the snow go? Well, I'm pretty confident someone's going to get a lot of snow and maybe blizzard conditions with these two storms. But where exactly will it go? Well, stay tuned because we'll be watching it and following it and keeping you posted. This is the first episode of The Weather Mike. Thanks for tuning in. And I don't have a cheesy ending yet, so we'll just see you next time. Bye.